actually our fucking second take of doing this because right now we shoot it in the living room and above us someone's fucking hammering nonstop on a Sunday at 6 p.m. Take your fucking day off, dude. Jesus Christ, God said to rest today, and this cunt is hammering nonstop. And then the hammering got my stupid dogs going crazy. So one was trying to jump up and the other one wants to play ball. All of a sudden, they want to, I took them outside in 100-degree heat and it's humid. And then all of a sudden then I had to rehab him in the bathtub because he has his torn ACL. And after exerting so much energy, they're fucking passed out on my bed. I said, this is a great time to shoot. The hammering starts and then they want to fucking all of a sudden get this second wind of energy. One's 12. The other's 11. They're 80 years old, basically. And now they want to fucking play. Go to sleep, you fucking cunts. Anyhow, so we wasted probably 10 minutes, but now we're back. And that is the power of not shooting live, going live, or whatever that gay-ass expression is. So just to recap last week, on Tuesday, when I posted the clip, I get a DM in my spam folder because I always do check my spam folder just in case I'm not following someone who wants to get fucked. So they send the DM, which isn't often, by the way, but it does happen. And so I see a DM from someone who I haven't spoken to in practically 20 years. So I was raised by, I was talking about my stepfather who this is a story from 18 years ago, that I pawned off a gold necklace for money to play poker when I first started playing poker 18 fucking years ago. No names, no nothing. The story could have been fucking fake. It was 100% real and I got $40. But I get a message from my stepbrother out of the blue saying, I really didn't appreciate that story. I mean, well, I didn't appreciate you not contacting me for 20 fucking years. You never said nothing about when my ex-boyfriend committed suicide. I was sleeping on a fucking yoga mat with no money, struggling here, still struggling, and trying to provide content for potentially acquisition of fans. And that's what you give a fuck about? Like a story where no names were mentioned? So this is the kind of bullshit you have to deal with. Not to mention the people that tell you that you suck anyways. Not funny. You suck. Well, then you do it. But I don't really care about that. But I just found it funny that... And I'm also a little high right now, so I'm a little buzzed to begin with. And I'm on a fast as well, 18 hours fast. So between wanting to fucking eat, then being in a great mood from the weed, and then now being in an angry mood because, you know, the weed's making me fucking angry that I get this dumbass message that I totally forgot about. But again, if it's for the content, we're feeding the beast. So the story I haven't told yet that I wanted to tell, and I've told it on Ryan Long's podcast, was the story about the documentary. I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, me and my producer Eric were talking about this, called Don't Fuck with Cats. It's a Netflix documentary, and it's I think it was a 3-parter. Incredible documentary, and I watched it during COVID, but there's history with me and the documentary, and I didn't kill cats, and I love cats, but I don't think that's necessary. But so the documentary is about Luca Magnotta. Luca Magnotta was he's still in jail for murdering another human at the time. I guess it was like his boyfriend or his partner. He murdered this foreign exchange student. They were in, I don't know if I don't think Luca was going to university. I guess they just met on an app, but they were living in Montreal. The guy came over to his house and he murdered him and then chopped up his body and fucked his dead corpse and filmed it. That's not how the documentary even starts. The documentary starts with about a guy who's torturing cats. And so this is where we come into the picture, is that in 2004, this is right around the time where I sold that fucking necklace, but it has nothing to do with each other. But in 2004, Thor, stop. This is my dog. Thor, stop it. Okay, I'm going to have to definitely add that. I have to yell at him, and he doesn't even stop. So in 2004, I was pursuing a career in professional baseball. My dream was to be in professional baseball. And that summer, I had surgery on my shoulder, on my throwing arm. And I was living in a downtown condo that my mother put me in because when I came out to my sister, the first thing, she snapped, and we had an argument about it, and something HIV, and it made me so mad that I took a dumbbell, and instead of getting mad at her, I had all this rage all the time. I took the dumbbell and I threw it out the window. We were living in an apartment at the time. The 5-pound dumbbell, 10-pound dumbbell, whatever. It must have been 5-pound because I know my sister and my mother used it to walk. There was like a treadmill in my room, in my fucking room. I didn't even have a room at the place I lived in. I just stayed on the couch. I slept on the couch so they could put a treadmill to work out in the room that I lived in. And I took one of the dumbbells that they would walk with, and I took it out of the room, and I just chucked it through the window, and that dumbbell landed on the superintendent's car. So he basically said I'm never allowed back in that apartment. And so my mother had to get me a place when I came back to Canada because I was pursuing college baseball, a career in college baseball, and I wanted to get in professional baseball, but I was back to have surgery on my shoulder. So I couldn't live at my mom's place, so she basically had to, because I was fucking psycho and I threw a dumbbell out the window, she had to sublease a place for me. And basically what I was doing that summer after I had surgery, I was rehabbing my shoulder, my right labrum, but I was also working because I needed money. I had no money whatsoever. So I was working a job in security. And the nights I didn't work and I was still in the closet at this time, I would go to the gay area in Toronto and go to gay clubs and like go to gay bars. I was like never overly concerned anyone would see me because it was kind of that thing, you see me, I see you. We're both fucking queers. So I was going to the gay bars and basically kept a down low image. And I don't think with social media now that you could be in the closet. I think it would just be too hard because people are taking selfies, people are taking pictures, and it wasn't like that yet in 2004, 2005. If I recall correctly, I think Twitter first started in 2003 or 2005, but it was in a time where it's like you could still be in the fucking closet. Now to be in the closet, I think that would be almost impossible. So, or if you were trying to still actively go out, but that's why athletes can't really cheat anymore because these fucking hoes are taking pictures when the athlete's asleep of their fucking, of them in the bed, which I would do too. But so, anything for the likes. But anyhow, so I would go out to, I'd usually work on like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? That's the nights that I would work security in bars and stuff. And don't say, oh, you work security? Yeah, I'm 40 years old fucking now. Back when I was in my 20s, I was built, and it's not like a crazy city in Toronto where it's dangerous. You just basically work the door, check IDs. So anyhow, I was working security, and I would go out on like Tuesday, Wednesday nights to gay bars or gay clubs. And what would happen is, sorry, my dog's fucking act. Thor, can you fucking get over here right now? Oh, I gotta edit this stuff. He's like, he loves to lick legs. Fucking too much, these guys. Ugh, just trying to, everything I fucking, this is what makes me so annoyed. Everything I fucking do is for your fucking fat mouths. So, anyhow. And they're just wagging their tail as I yell at them. And then someone's gonna be saying, oh, this is how you treat your dogs? Abso-fucking-lutely. They have the fucking best life in the world. So I go to gay club on Wednesday, and why this is important is I would go there, and basically I was so uncomfortable because even though I was in the closet and I was like, probably nobody's going to see me, there's still that thought in your head, someone could see you. Someone could fucking see you. So I'm at a gay club, and what I would usually do I would sit in a corner, stand in a corner, and I'd drink water. I wasn't drinking at the time. I wasn't a stoner at the time. I would just stand there with the water, and these dumb idiots would come up to me and are like, "Are you gay?" I'm like, "No, I'm a fucking straight guy trying to watch a game, but there's no game. It's just fucking naked dudes wrestling on TV. I'm fucking straight, you dumbass." It's like the dumbest questions. I guess that was like their way of hitting on me. Again, ugly now, much better looking back then. Although I did post a video talking about fucking twinks on TikTok, which eventually got taken down, but went viral. And I had a bunch of twinks messaging me, "Hey, daddy, are you looking?" Like trying to hook up. So you know, even though you as a YouTube viewer might think I'm disgusting, or if you're listening to this on audio and you look at me and you say you're not that good looking, there's still a market for the balding and beautiful. But I would stand in the corner and drink, and basically, like, if I saw a dude, I would go up to them and I would like talk to him, and it would be awkward because I was so uncomfortable with myself and my own skin. But that's when I saw this guy also very uncomfortable, and also looked straightish. He looked like a guy from Italy or something, because he was wearing like the Kappa track pants, white t-shirt, chain with the cross on the outside, and he was like making eye contact with me. And this is where the story comes almost full circle, because I went up to him and I'm like, "Hey bro, are you straight?" And it's like the same. It's the dumbest thing. For years I would get angry at dudes saying that to me, but then dumbass I went up to him, and we get into a conversation, and he introduced himself. His name's Eric. Producer's name's Eric too, but definitely not my type. But so he gets to, and we start talking, and it turns out this guy, we're getting along. We're hanging out for a couple hours, and kind of like gay culture is where it's like, "Hey, you want to go hang out?" kind of thing, where it's like, "Yeah, let's leave and fuck." But he was actually waiting for one of his sugar daddies. And so as he's waiting for one of his sugar daddies, or the term is, he was turning a trick. And turning a trick, I don't know if that's a familiar term, but like a guy would go hook up with, or a chick would hook up with a guy for money. And he was like just waiting, killing time until his sugar daddy came to pick him up and turn this trick. And I was like, "Oh, that sucks," because, we had this like, same kind of thing. He wasn't really into the scene at the time, and we were vibing, and it was a fun conversation. He's like, "Hey, why don't we just hang out tomorrow?" And I was like, "Totally." And so what basically happened, I get his number. He goes off into the sun with some old fucking pervert, and the next morning I call him up, and I'm like, "Hey, you still down to hang?" And he came over. And what happened was, when he came over, I don't know what the fuck they did, but he stunk so bad. So, like, we start hooking up, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not good with smells. I don't know. I know some dudes, they can power through some smells. I'm just not good with smells." I'm like, "Look, dude, I think you got a shower or something." And he was really hot, and he had a great body. So I'm like, "Yo, I'll fucking shower with you." And what ended up happening, I basically just washed him down, but he smelled so bad that I couldn't even hook up with him after. So we just basically ended up hanging out all day. We went to get food, and we became really good friends. We hung out all the time, and we would scam fucking, because he had so many sugar daddies on a Rolodex. We would scam all these dudes for money. And one particular situation, I remember there was a doctor, an Indian doctor, and saying his race probably not important, but it's said. But what happened was, I needed money. I had no money. I was making like, I forget what it was. It was like $15 an hour before tax, working the door as security. And after tax, I was making like 300 and something bucks a week, putting these like 8-hour shifts. I hated it. I was like, "Dude, we need to get money. Is there any way that I can get money without fucking any of these old dudes? Because I think that's disgusting." He's like, "Totally, we'll just scam one." And one of the scams that we did was that we met this one Indian doctor, and the guy had a place in Toronto and had a place in Montreal, and we met him on a street corner because there's an area in Toronto that's like the hooker Harvey's, but for like there's a Harvey's, which is a fast food restaurant, like a Carl's Jr.'s, where all the women hung out, but there was an area similar for the gay guys. There's also an area similar for the trans hookers. So we went to meet this dude, and he drives up in his car. I'm there with Eric. And the dude's like, so you guys are willing to come to, like, Eric would sort out these details. He's like, you guys are willing to come to Montreal. If I give you some money, you'll take a bus over and then you'll stay the weekend. He wanted us like house slave boys. This sounds fucking crazy, but this is what he wanted. He's like, he wanted us to be basically submissive house slave boys. So basically we would be there doing chores naked, and I was like, sure. Like, I just played along because this dude's sitting in his car, totally fucking disgusting. He was like morbidly obese, which I like in women, but in guys, I don't like. And he's just sitting there in his car, and he's like, would you guys come to Montreal, my other house, and come for the weekend? And you'll be, and I was like, and Eric's like, yeah, totally. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'd totally do that. And so basically we meet. And then he drives off, and he works out the details. However it was with Eric to Western, this is how long ago it was. He Western Union Eric $1,000, and basically we didn't fucking end up going, and Eric gave me $500. We split it, and we just screwed the guy over, which I had no problems screwing the fucking guy over, because literally the guy wanted to take advantage of us because we didn't have any fucking money. So it was basically a fuck you to the gay man, where it's like, you're going to try and fuck us, we'll fuck you. And we just never showed up. He Western Union the money, and that was that. But anyways, so I hung out with this guy all the time. He came to meet me at my fucking condo that I was subleasing, and I would walk to work, and we would go get food. And then one day I call him up, and the phone and it goes to voicemail. I was like, that's so odd, but sometimes, people are on the line and it goes right directly to voicemail. They don't have their phone on, but I keep on calling him. I call him later that night. I call him the next day, same kind of thing. And then a couple weeks later, the phone's out of service, and and it was like so weird because we were such good buddies. We hung out literally like 3-4 days a week, but then all of a sudden he's just MIA. And I'm like, how the fuck's this happen? I don't know what happened, because the last time we hung out, I specifically remember I get done working at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., whatever the time. Bars close at 2, so it was probably around 3. We go onto the harbor front, and there's a place in downtown Toronto that it's a shawarma shop right on the water that was open till 4 a.m. because there's a big industry club right by there where people could go fucking do ecstasy, Molly, and it's open till, I think it was like 24 hours on the weekend, or it opens at 8 on a Saturday and goes till like noon on a Sunday. And so that place was open all the time for people to get food. And I remember getting the shawarma, and that was like the last time we ever hung out. So this is summer of 2004. And in 2000, I think it was 12, right before I start doing comedy, or maybe it's 2013. I don't remember specifically the year. I remember hearing this story on the news about this dude who's named Luca Magnotta, who is on the loose. They're looking for this guy. He just, he's mailing body parts to both governments, like literally like mailing severed arms or severed legs. I forget what the whole story was. He mailed a torso, and I don't remember exactly, but I never paid that much attention. I might have seen his picture, but then one night, it's 2 a.m., I'm watching TV in my bed, and I'm watching Canadian Broadcast Corporation, CBC, and that's the government channel, which plays Hockey Night in Canada, and it has all the local news, local Canadian news, everything that nobody else gives a fuck about outside of Canada, right? Hockey Night in Canada every Saturday night. They have a big pregame, couple games. Anyways, and I'm not even paying attention because I'm watching. I have TV in the background, and I'm on my computer, and then I hear this fucking voice, and it's the voice of Luca Magnotta, which ends up being fucking Eric Newman. But I never really put two and two together because I guess after I'd met him it's been like 7-8 years. He's had a bunch of surgeries. And I hear this voice. I look up and I go, oh my God, I fucking know that guy. The guy at like Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel's a fucking man. And that's what it was. I knew fucking Eric Newman's Luca Magnotta. And it's literally 2 or 3 in the morning. And I run to my roommate, who's my landlord, who's also gay, that's how I became friends with him, which is not an important story. And I run into this room. He's on the fucking shitter. I go, Adam, I know Luca Magnotta. I used to fucking hang out with him all the day. And he looks up at me because, dude, this guy is like my brother in fucking life. He's on the shitter. He's like, bro, can I please shit in peace? And I'm like, but this is the craziest fucking story. And I think it was in 2012. And it was so wild that the dude who I was in the summer of 2004, it's like the summer of '69, the Bruce Springsteen. Who is this? Is it the Springsteen song? Yeah, it's the whoever Billy Joel. Whoever it is. This was like my closest friend, and it's like all these crazy things start appearing in my head, and I was shocked, like that gutting feeling where you almost can't eat, that nerve-wracking feeling sometimes I get before going on stage. I have this feeling, and telling this story, even right now, I have the tingles in my back because that was one of the craziest, by far, the craziest moment in my life that come to realization that the man who, it's the biggest hunt in probably Canada's history for this killer, ends up being a guy who in 2004 was literally like one of my closest buddies in life because he knew all my secrets. He knew baseball. He knew the gay world. He's one of the only few people at this time who truly knew who I was, even though I didn't even know who he was. But that was what was so fucked up, because he was such a shy, reserved kind of guy. Now, deviant in the fact that turning tricks, hustling fucking old gay men, which, again, I was totally on board with. But I, like, for days couldn't believe that. And aside from Adam, I had nobody to tell except I was really struggling in life. So this must have been right before comedy because I hadn't been doing stand-up comedy. So it is 2012 because I started in 2013. That I went to see a therapist because I was so depressed in life. And I saw the therapist a couple times. And after the second time, the therapist said, man, I cannot help you if you're not willing to take any meds. And I said, I'm not willing to take any meds. And he's like, well, we can't do this anymore. And I'm like, fine. And he refused to see me, which he said, we're just not going to make any progress. Well, he didn't refuse. He just said, I don't think we're going to make any progress. I think you need to see someone else. Until I find out about Luca Magnotta. Literally the next day, I called this guy. His name was Dr. Edward Brown. I don't know if there's a client privilege, a therapist client privilege where I can't say his name. I call him and I said, I leave a message. You won't believe the story. I know Luca Magnotta, and it's one of the craziest stories. Within an hour, I get a phone call from the therapist who said he cannot help me at all, says we need to book an appointment. This is how you know those people are fucking sick in the head too. He said, we need to book an appointment. I need to hear the story. And now, mind you, this is the first time I've told this story in 2 years. So it might be, it might be pretty clunky, but this isn't something I fucking worked on. I said, let's roll this camera and let's fucking go. So I tell him the story, and that's how you know these people are sick. That's how you know therapists are sick, because he loved every fucking minute of it. And afterwards, he's like, well, they still can't really do anything for you until you're willing to take medication. But you love to hear about fucking killers, don't you? He's like, well, yeah. Well, he didn't say this, but that wasn't the conversation. But basically, you know what? That's what's going on. And eventually, Luca got caught, and the documentary came out years later, but I've never talked really about it on stage, maybe as an open micer. It's hard to find the funny in it. But what's amazing is this come full circle again, the fact I know this guy, and there's one of the top documentaries made about this guy, and I watched it during, and this is what's so fascinating about the documentary, I watched it during quarantine with my first girlfriend, and if you told me a decade ago that, and it is a decade ago now, that literally a decade, because it's the summertime right now, that the guy who I'm hanging out with and hustling older gay males for money and talking shit, and who truly knows who I am as a person when I'm closeted, that in a decade, that not only he'd be one of the most notorious killers in Canada, and I'd be watching the documentary on Netflix, which I think existed. I think it was at the time, it was a mail-in service for movies. But at the time, there would be a documentary about this fucking dude who was so sweet to me, and sweet in the fact by taking advantage of older, horny, desperate gay men who were taking advantage of horny, desperate young gay guys who were trying to use that money to fuck other horny, desperate gay young dudes. I don't know what we're using the money for. I was trying to use the money to live and eat and stuff like that. But you don't need money in the gay world. You just need to have youth, big dick, and looks. But that 10 years later, that I would be in a long-term monogamous relationship watching a documentary about a good friend of mine at the time who chopped up a foreign exchange student's body, fucked his dead corpse, and used to torture cat. I'd say, no fucking way. Also, that I would be a comic. That I would be a comic living in New York City. Nothing of that would have ever entered my head, because I knew Luke at the time wanted some kind of fame, and I obviously wanted to be in Major League Baseball. That was my dream. But ever since going into comedy, this is the funniest thing, that you know, I'm an unknown comedian. I have a small following, and I've worked so hard over the last 9 years, 10 years come December 2022, 10 years, and I have done thousands of shows, literally thousands of shows. I've had nothing. I've been on welfare multiple times. I've foregoed, you know, my fucking money-making ability. I went through COVID. I thought I lost my career. I was a headliner. And that this guy who I knew had a documentary made about him killing a person. And if I knew that all you had to do was kill one human being to become famous, maybe I would have put so much effort into comedy. But no, I mean, I just think it's a crazy story. And I will hopefully tell this story on other podcasts. And there's just other details that always come up because I haven't sat down and thought about this. So it's, I don't know, like, how long has this been? This feels like 28 minutes. 30 minutes. Fuck. Like, and I could tell, like, as I'm rambling along, there's like the ands, but all the details, this was fresh. I didn't write it down. This was just, you know, this is just probably the most honest recounting of the story, aside when I was telling the therapist. But at that time, there wasn't the documentary, there wasn't the girlfriend, there wasn't all this, there wasn't even comedy at the time. And I know it was right before comedy because I was thinking about comedy, and even the therapist said, that will probably be very good for you. You probably could do really well in comedy. I remember him saying that. I don't know. He was so old at the time. He must have been in the 70s, so I don't even know if he's around. But anyways, just a crazy story, and crazy to watch that documentary again about a guy who was really genuine to me and turned out to be and I don't condone that act. I don't condone the acts of torturing animals, even though I did yell at my dogs a couple times, but I do not torture them. But no, I just think one of the craziest stories that probably in my life. Anyways, we're going to start getting on guests in the next couple weeks. There might be a little lull between this one and the next one, but again, thank you for tuning in, and subscribe, like, and share. Thank you guys. Have a great night.